I am Marky Billson, and I want to welcome you back to the program. In the next hour, Cody Sensabaugh, the Pittsburgh Steelers Dobbins-Bennett product. He will be calling in, talking about the NFL playoffs, his charitable work. Hey, his cousin Gerald. I mean, a lot of stuff. We can go all day with Cody, and they'll probably limit me to a few questions or so. But no. I'm excited about that. Yeah, I'm an old Steelers fan. I do try on this show. I don't want this to be the Steelers show. And I know we spoke a lot about James Harrison yesterday, or not yesterday, but last week. But that was the biggest story in the NFL. That's what everybody was talking about. Might talk to it about Cody Sensabaugh. Was he really that bad of a teammate? Of course, this is his first year with the Steelers. Been kind of a journeyman. The Giants, Rams. Tonight on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities, we will be giving you the basketball broadcast of Unicoi County at Sullivan East. Despite the school closures, those ball games will be on. And I'll be actually in the studio as the Unicoi County Blue Devils will be playing. It's a key game because both the teams in boys basketball action are tied in the standings in the loss column in the Three Rivers Conference as Unicoi County tries to overcome the loss of Clay Simpson. Big star, but he's out for the year with a bad knee. Suffered in the first Science Hill game. Unicoi County earlier this year, or this week, excuse me. It would have been earlier this year, actually. As the case may be. On the second day of the year, they suffered a defeat to Science Hill in Irwin, which happens to be where our studio is. The good people that bring you these broadcasts are as follows: Health and Home Care, Jones and Church Farms are the best tomatoes anywhere, Unicoi County Insurance Agency, Unicoi Gas Utility District. Folks, I like the gas stove. I really like the gas stove. When it's on, it's on. When it's off, it's off. Certainly a lot of people with gas heat using it this week and all that. I'm telling you right now, we're just about ready to have, and I'm telling you that it's David Letterman temperatures right here in the studio. Okay, so this is what we're almost out to right now. If you do freeze to death, however, you'll want a life insurance policy from Farm Bureau Insurance. And they sponsor Unicoi County basketball as well. Irwin Paint and Body Shop. They've done work for me. David True. Like him a lot. Clinchfield Federal Credit Union. See what a credit union can do for you instead of a bank. The computer guy in Irwin, I love him. The Marky Billson personal recommendation. He is worth driving into Unicoi County for. You will make up any gas money you lose on the low rates compared to other computer services that I've seen in the Tri-Cities. Computer guy in Irwin, honest, friendly, I don't want to say cheap, inexpensive. He does quality work at a fair price. Computer guy in Irwin, check him out. Relay for Life of Unicoi County, the dentist, Dr. Jason Cunningham. Irwin Utilities, Irwin Bonding, Unicoi County Memorial Hospital, which is going to open up a building next to us. New one coming up. We used to have horses, now we'll have doctors. Anyway. Urgent Care of Irwin, Irwin Pets, and the Unicoi County Irwin Kentucky Fried Chicken, which I might just stop by at later on today. I don't know. I'm thinking about it here. Well, it's not Wednesday when they have the delicious chicken liver dinner and all that. That's a real southern delicacy, isn't it? Chicken liver dinner and all. As I said, Cody Sensabaugh coming up in the next hour. I want to talk to you a little bit. I know the story that's got everybody buzzing about, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the next hour, are Tom Brady and Bill Belichick getting along? But it boils down to, I guess, that, Tom Brady's 40 years old, says he wants to play to 45. There's no guarantee to that. I mean, you say, boy, this is a physical specimen. I know that Maxim magazine about a year or two ago speculated that in the future we could see the 50-year-old quarterback. Players become more healthy, the exact science, the intelligence, all that of the position So you could have players throwing for 100,000 yards in their career and all that. But, which would be 4 times what the yardage record was at the time when the NFL expanded, when the Dallas Cowboys came in. That time it was 25,000. Think about that. So now it's almost 3 times that. I mean, Drew Brees is going to pass Peyton Manning, who has 71,000, assuming he comes back next year for the all-time yardage mark. Anyway, I am pointing this at that, there's some friction there, and Bob Kraft seems to be siding with Tom Brady. I don't blame him. Look, I realize that Belichick can coach longer than Brady can play in all likelihood. But neither of them are spring chickens. And folks, if it comes down to the player or the coach, ultimately it's the ball player who wins the ball game. The greatest strategy in the world, but, you're playing chess against Bobby Fischer. If you got a full set of pieces and all he's got is a king and a pawn, you might have a chance in this game. Tom Brady, many people think, is the greatest quarterback of all time. I know that's subjective, so is greatest coach. 5 Super Bowls, it's tough to argue with that with Bill Belichick. But when it comes down to players or coach, hey, look, Bill Belichick didn't win in Cleveland. Tom Brady's never lost. Think about that. So you want to always take care of the player over the coach. I don't care if you're talking Mario Lemieux and Scotty Bowman, there's a reference, or if you're talking, in this case, Brady and Belichick. You side with the player when he's got the talent. If it's a lousy ball player, you side with the coach. If it's a iconic player like Brady, you side with him. And in doing so, trust me, there are many coaches that can win the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. Bill Belichick couldn't win the Super Bowl without him. I'm Marky Billson. When we come back in the next hour, Cody Sensabaugh will be calling in live from Pittsburgh. Kingsport's own, playing in the NFL playoffs. That's why he signed with the Steelers. He's a survivor. So are we. The second hour of Tri-City Sports now is next.
WBNB Irwin, 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Sports Radio update starts now.
Big news in New England. I'm Jeff Biggs, and the bombshell article from Seth Wickersham at ESPN is out, and it says that there is real friction between Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and Patriots owner Robert Kraft, and the run may be done in New England sooner than we think. Here's more from today's PFT Live with former NFL quarterback Chris Sims and our own Mike Florio on NBC Sports Radio.
I've heard little cracks in the armor throughout the Patriots organization, about little rifts between Belichick and Kraft. And usually when you start to hear those things in the NFL and you know people, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm not saying it's coming to an end and maybe as critical as this article is saying, but maybe that there is some butting of the heads and butting of the egos going on in New England.
That's one of the things I take away from this and say, wow, we got to watch this, because maybe this is not just a question of Brady leaving. Maybe this is a question now of Belichick leaving.
Well, the Patriots have the day off, but they were still able to release a joint statement shooting down the report and saying they are still united, just as they have been for the last 18 years. Well, wildcard weekend in the NFL kicks off tomorrow with the Titans and the Chiefs from Arrowhead, followed by the Falcons and the Rams in primetime on NBC. And earlier today, Rams receiver Robert Woods was on with our own Mike Florio on NBC Sports Radio.
I mean, we're going to bring it. I mean, it's a whole new team, whole new year. It changes every year. We're at our house. We're going to bring that energy for sure. We're going to come out there and play fast. And they got it matched up.
And breaking news out of the Bay Area, according to reports, the Raiders are going to officially introduce John Gruden as their new head coach on Tuesday. One college football note, as expected, Louisville quarterback Lamar Jackson, who won the Heisman in 2016, is leaving early for the NFL draft. I'm Jeff Biggs. This is NBC Sports Radio.
Well, that's pretty big. Lamar Jackson leaving. One of many quarterbacks. I mean, you've got Not Bradford, listen to me. You've got UCLA's quarterback. You've got Sam Darnold. You've got, Rosen. You've got Baker Mayfield. Now Jackson going into that. A lot of quarterbacks coming out. One of them's going to be a bust. One of them's going to be a star. I've heard a lot of people pick on Baker Mayfield. I kind of like Baker Mayfield out of all that. I like the guy that's done it. And while Jackson's done it, he's last year's Heisman winner. In the NFL, you cannot scramble your way to a championship. Can't be done. And pick up, Cody Sensible is going to call in. I'm reminded once, I've been a fan of sports talk for a long time. Years ago, Bobby Bowden was going to call in. He was the number one coach in the nation, and he was going to call into a show, pay off an old favor to a host and all that. The host is talking to a caller, and it's like, hey, wait, Bobby Bowden's on the other line. Scram, I got to go to the number one coach in the nation. That was kind of fun. But I'm trying to think where to begin here in this hour as we wait for Cody Sensabaugh to come with us. We'll have to give us a little bit of quick hits here as we go on. But what I wanted to discuss here real fast was a little bit more with that Tom Brady situation and Bill Belichick. Again, as I said, if Kraft is sided with Brady, that's the guy you side with. Plus, Bill Belichick is so surly. After a while, it's like, thank you for the 5 Super Bowls, but really, this is just getting to be a little bit more than what we had hoped. Brady and Belichick, the rift between them, Seth Wickersham had this to say.
Alex Guerrero and the TB12 method, which has become a divisive problem in the building. So that was an issue. Tom's desire to play into his 40s and just how realistic that is became an issue. And because of that, you just sort of have this weird dynamic in the building where there is a rift between Brady and Belichick. And, they've never been best friends, but this is just different.
Wickersham goes on to say that trading Jimmy Garoppolo has done so well with San Francisco made no sense.
Clearly, trading Garoppolo was a breaking point. There's something changed with the future of the franchise, and like I said, it just made no sense. People in the building were like, why would the game's most shrewd long-term strategist trade 2 backup quarterbacks in a 2-month span with a 40-year-old starter who's been banged up? It just made no sense.
It does in the sense of if you want to be, in my case that I say, you want to take care of your legends. Now, usually what I mean by take care of your legends is you don't want to dispel Yogi Berra from the Yankees the way that George Steinbrenner did for a while in the 1980s. You don't want to have that rift that went about. And that does happen sometimes. You don't want to have Marcus Allen angry at the Raiders, something like that. That's never works out. And one of the things I've also mentioned is just, and I've been critical of ETSU for this, that I don't think they've ever really kept their great teams of the early 90s in the fold the way that they should have. These guys are, ETSU doesn't do a very good job, I'll tell you. I was trying, to get some former ball players from ETSU when they were hosting Tennessee in basketball last year to come on the show. They didn't have contacts for former stars. They had to go through other contacts in the media to actually find out where they were and who their numbers. That's how we had Houston Frazier and Skeeter Swift on this show. We gave Skeeter Swift his final interview, as a matter of fact, the day that ETSU played Florida. By the way, we are waiting. Cody Sensabaugh is scheduled to call us sometime in this hour. Let's look a little bit more at that rift. And like I said, if it comes down to player and coach, as I've said, name me the coach that can't win with Tom Brady. You got to be a real lunatic not to be able to. Bill Belichick has never won a Super Bowl without Tom Brady. He was not successful in Cleveland. And when we look at that, there's a little bit more on this. Here's one thing that I saw, that Belichick has been very hard on Tom Brady over the years. Let's listen a little more with Seth Wickersham after what he has to say. Let me spit it out of my mouth.
Bill has always coached Tom really hard.
think that that's wearing on Tom this year. He hasn't been shy about that in the building. That, like, look, I've accomplished a lot. Do I really need to be, torn apart in front of the team every time, or the subject of, sort of manipulation, and, is this really this necessary? And, Tom has also become more of an advocate of, like, positive thinking as he's gotten older, and, of course, that's not Belichick's system. I think that there's a lot of negativity and a lot of fear based in his system, and I think that, like, that is something that's been difficult.
Titans fans will remember Josh Miller. For that matter, the Steeler fans tuning in will remember that him as well. He used to be a punter, and he finished up his career, I believe. Did he finish up his career with the Titans or the Patriots? No, he played with the Patriots and then the Titans, if memory serves. Started with the Steelers. He once compared Jeff Fisher and Bill Belichick this way, what the locker room would be like. Titans would lose a tough game. Fisher, who, by the way, leads the NFL all-time in losses, although there is the argument that shows he's a good coach, would, after a tough loss, be in the locker room and just, gosh, we just let that one get away. Patriots would win by 10 points. Belichick would just rip his team. Keeps you on the edge. He's been very criticized for it by his players. Now it appears Tom Brady. And, I remember the New England Patriots last year routing the Houston Texans, coming on in the second half. Evidently, Bill Belichick didn't feel the same way.
Belichick went after Brady last year after they played the Texans in the playoffs in front of the entire team and lit them up like people had never seen. Right. And, essentially said, Pepper playing Brady throwing interceptions and saying, we were lucky to win. This stuff is going to beat us in the future.
I don't know. I mean, I keep going down. If it comes down, great player, great coach, you go with the player. It's about the players. I'm a huge, believer in strategy. You can outthink someone to win. I'm the guy who looks at, Vanderbilt and says, you know what, their academics, that could be a positive for them in winning because they'd be the smartest team on the field. And that's got to be the most important thing, right? That's what I say. But it comes down to the ball players, and like Woody Woodenhofer once said, former Vanderbilt coach on this show, and for the Steeler fans tuning in to listen to Cody Sensabaugh, yeah, he was the defensive coordinator of the Steelers under Chuck Noll in Super Bowl 13 and Super Bowl 14. And he would say, yeah, intelligence is all well and good, but at the same time, the defensive lineman is much stronger than my offensive lineman. I've got a problem. And I can have him intellectually say, block low, and that'll work for a while, but after a while, the laws of physics take in, So, anyway, that's the case. By the way, since we do have a few Steeler fans listening, Ryan Shazier, of course, was hurt on the field Monday night game against Cincinnati, and Ryan Shazier, there's now some talk that he is getting better. But we will go to that. I believe that I have on the line Cody Sensabaugh. We'll take a break and come back to him after this on Tri-City Sports Now. Hello.
Hey, this is Joe with Still SPR.
How do you do, Joe? How's Bert Lawton doing?
How you doing? Well,